and law enforcement abusing a confidential database to look up your private information.
I mean, that's my private information. They don't need to know everything about me.
The NBC2 investigators discovered it's only getting worse.
You nervous?
It's ridiculous that we're paying somebody to creep on women.
Law enforcement officers under the microscope accused of misusing confidential databases to spy on exes, strangers, and public figures.
That's disgusting that he's definitely using his power to control women that are around him.
The NBC2 investigators first exposed this in Southwest Florida 2 years ago. A state trooper accused of looking up photos and personal information of 118 women with absolutely no law enforcement reason to do so.
A new report shows the problem is even bigger than we thought. NBC2 investigator David Hodges continues our coverage.
A thorough review of law enforcement agencies nationwide by the Associated Press found more than 500 cases of abuse of the David system in the last 3 years. But today I learned there has been some progress towards stopping the issue here in Florida.
Tina Marie is, unfortunately, used to her private info being taken.
I've had credit card information hacked. I've had my emails hacked. It's a pretty scary situation.
You expect that from criminals, but I'm guessing you wouldn't expect that from a law enforcement officer.
Well, definitely not.
But in a new report, the Associated Press found hundreds of times officers abused the David system, a database that stores driver information, including social security numbers.
That's very disconcerting. I mean, that's my private information. They don't need to know everything about me.
The report found nationwide officers were fired or suspended more than 325 times for abusing the database since 2013. But sometimes the punishment is less. More than 250 were only reprimanded.
I think administration does everything that they can to prevent misuse.
Chris Nod is a former Naples police officer and now manages Naples Security Solutions. He says the tool is critical for tracking criminals.
It can give you some preliminary information that helps steer your investigation.
And he says officers know the consequences of misusing it.
There is administrative policy in regard to the use of the database. So law enforcement is absolutely aware of it.
Handle me.
The NBC2 investigators first made you aware of database misuse 2 years ago. Florida trooper Anthony Esposito was eventually fired for looking up more than 100 women on the site, even stopping some of them. We talked to one victim.
What specifically was he saying?
He was like, I see that you have like a nice chest or boobs. Like, I wonder if like your matches.
And he's one of many. Only last week, one Charlotte County deputy was fired and another disciplined for misusing the David system.
They know when they're supposed to use them and when they're not supposed to use them.
Just this year, Florida law enforcement agencies were instructed to conduct more audits of their use of the system. Every David user is also required to write why they're looking someone up. In a statement, an FHP spokesperson told the NBC2 investigators misuse of the David system is not tolerated, and if a violation occurs, that member will be held accountable.
It's also now required that any officer using the David system has to sign this document acknowledging it could be a first-degree misdemeanor for misusing it, although we haven't found any cases in which criminal charges have been brought against officers misusing the database. For the NBC2 investigators, I'm David Hodges.